will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sandy, if you could please read our mission statement and take roll call.
At Richmond Community Schools, we provide a quality education that empowers students to be successful in the building community. Board Member Cunningham.
Here.
Board Member Michon.
Here.
Board Member Sutton.
Here.
Board Member Steyer.
Here.
Board Member Telto.
Here.
Board Member Gillis.
Here.
9 board members. For 2-9 here, we have a quorum. Our student representative, Joseph Casito, couldn't be here with us tonight, but we do have our student representative, Elizabeth Schaefer.
Thank you. This time I'm looking for a motion to approve our agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Support.
Thank you. Mr. Wamsley, any discussion?
In your backup, you'll see the resignations that were submitted to us, as well as some new hires. The new hires are pending the completion of the new hire paperwork and background check. There were no questions regarding the April 28th regular meeting minute. Also in your backup is the district headcount and full-time equivalent report, and again, no questions regarding the claims and accounts.
Any questions for Mr. Wamsley?
I actually just one question. Are all the spots taken for the summer school program? Are there any openings left for students or I'm sorry, for staff?
We haven't finalized all the staff, at least on that. Don't have an
I don't.
answer to that.
I mean, we're not still filling, but yeah, everything's not finalized. So there's still
For staff.
The
for staff
posting-
to apply.
The posting was closed. If staff are interested, they can always submit us a letter. We will fill the position based on the openings.
Okay, at this time, Mrs. Abel and Dr. Crawford, we're going to do our class of 2025. Did I motion?
No, you did not.
I'm sorry, guys, back up. Come up, Andrew. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we will move on.
There we go. So thank you so much for having us here. It is an honor and privilege as the principal of Richmond High School to introduce the top 10 class of 2025 graduates. Earlier this evening, we got to celebrate their accomplishments with not only their family and friends, but also a special guest that's been influential in their lives. And it was just great to hear the stories that these individuals have played in each one of their academic pathways to get to the moment that they're at right now. So what we will do is we will call up our students and their parents, and I believe the board will line up, and then I will read a little bit of background about our graduates. I shared earlier this evening that I believe the top 18 students in the class of 2025 have over a 4.0 GPA. So it definitely was a very competitive class, a group of students that took dual enrollment classes, early college Macomb classes, AP classes, and definitely deserve all the accolades they have earned. So without further ado, I would like to welcome up Elena Esslink with her parents Robert and Patricia Esslink. Elena is graduating with a GPA of 4.068 and will be studying marketing at Slippery Rock University. She's a member of the volleyball team, powerlifting, and tennis, and is president of the Student Athletic Advisory Council, a member of SAD, and also National Honor Society. Congratulations, Elena.
Good job, Mom. Great job, Dad.
Next up, we have Caitlin Telto, who's joining us this evening with her parents Annie and Brian Telto. Caitlin has a grade point average of 4.073 and will be studying business and human resources at Saginaw Valley State University. Caitlin is captain of both the varsity volleyball and softball teams, is treasurer of SAD, a member of Green Club and National Honor Society, and also coaches youth volleyball outside of school. Congratulations, Caitlin.
Great job.
Next up, we have Amelia Hill, who is joining us this evening with her parents Jack and Karen Hill. Amelia has a grade point average of 4.097 and will be studying mechanical engineering at Saginaw Valley State University. She was a member of the Blue Water Area Athletic Conference All-Academic Team, is a member of National Honor Society, Green Club, and Interact, and also enjoys playing softball outside of school. Congratulations, Amelia.
Great job. Don't trip. Congrats, Mom. Congratulations.
Next up, we have Autumn Rance, who's joining us this evening with her parents Jason and Lisa Rance. Autumn has a cumulative grade point average of 4.101, and after finishing the Early College of Macomb program, will be studying secondary education. Autumn is a four-year member of our varsity cheerleading team, a member of National Honor Society and SAD, also coaches Richmond Hometown Cheer, is a peer mentor leader at Macomb, and a member of Richmond Youth for Christ. Congratulations, Autumn.
Great parent. Great job.
Next up, joining us this evening is Caleb Manska with his parents Doug and Jocelyn Manska. Caleb has a grade point average of 4.111 and will be studying computer science at Grand Valley State University. Caleb was a four-year member of the cross-country, track, and bowling teams and is a member of National Honor Society as well as esports. Congratulations, Caleb.
Great job, sir.
Next up is Elizabeth Coker, who's joining us this evening with her parent Carol Coker. She has a grade point average of 4.132 and will be studying graphic design at the College of Creative Studies. Liz was a member of the BWAC All-Academic Team, is a four-year member of both the varsity basketball and soccer teams, is a member of National Honor Society, and has won various art awards at the local, regional, and national level. Congratulations, Elizabeth.
Great job. Good job.
Next up, we have Adeline Loftus, who's joining us this evening with her parents Charlie and Kim Loftus. Adeline has a grade point average of 4.144 and will be studying sociology, human development, and family studies at Michigan State University. She's a member of the National Honor Society and a senior leadership role in student government. She's assistant manager at her job, which she's held for 4 years, and is a former member of the Richmond cheerleading team and Green Club. Congratulations, Adeline. Next up, please welcome Ashley Safford and her parents, Kurt and Tammy Safford. Ashley has a cumulative grade point average of 4.152 and will be studying biomedical engineering at Lawrence Technological University. Ashley is a member of our varsity softball team and Green Club and is also a member of National Honor Society. Congratulations, Ashley.
Congrats. Great job. Good job, sir.
Next up, please welcome Grace Sluck and her parents, David Sluck and Laura Bond. Grace has a grade point average of 4.158, and after finishing the Early College of Macomb program, will be studying nursing at Grand Valley State University. Grace currently is an intern at St. Clair Dermatology and is taking her nursing prerequisites at Macomb. She spends most of her time working to save up for college and a new car, and loves spending time by the lake outside of school. Congratulations, Grace.
Great job. Awesome. Great job.
And last, we have Sydney James, who's joining us this evening with her parents, Ronald and Carrie James. Sydney has a grade point average of 4.199 and will be studying wildlife ecology and conservation at Michigan Technological University. Sydney was recognized as a member of the BWAC All-Academic Team, is a 4-year member of cross-country and soccer teams, is Vice President of National Honor Society, and has been a 3-year member of our mock trial team. Congratulations, Sydney.
Watch your step. Great job. Great job. Thank you.
So as I said at the beginning, I just want to thank and honor all 10 of these students as well as all of the students in the class of 2025. At this time, if our top 10 graduates would meet me over by the banner, because I would like to take one group picture before we leave, and you are welcome to go if you would like to. You don't have to stay. But thank you again.
relatives all over the place.
Item on our agenda is our student teachers of the year. I'm going to leave to Ms. Walmsley, but we do have something to give her.
So what we'll do is after we introduce Bill, down on the board, come up. Bill, tonight, it's a great honor and a special tribute to honor our Teachers of the Year for 2024-25 school year. We not only celebrate the exceptional educators that they are, but also the lasting impact they've had on student lives. The impact that is, I think, beautifully captured in Patricia Blanco's book, Thank You, Mr. Paul. In her story, Patricia recounts her own struggle as a young child with an undiagnosed dyslexia. School was not a place of joy or confidence for her. especially not Mr. Falk. He was a teacher who saw her potential. He looked past her frustrations and self-doubt and patiently, compassionately, and persistently helped to find the confidence and ability to read. Mr. Falker didn't just teach her literacy, he gave her power to see herself. That same spirit lives in the teachers we're honoring here tonight. Like Mr. Falker, our Teacher of the Year, do more than just deliver lessons, they change lives. They see students beyond the struggle, they inspire confidence in them when they have doubt in themselves, they lift students up, one moment, one conversation, one act of compassion at a time. And for that, I'm proud to recognize our 3 Teacher of the Years tonight, Rhonda DeGroy, Matthew Clendenin, and Stacy Wolin. Here to begin the ceremony will be Mrs. Sapinski regarding the Teacher of the Year.
And I will just kind of be introducing and bringing up the administrator from each outstanding teacher's building. So we will start with Lovely Elementary, where we honor Rhonda LeGroy, and we'll welcome Mrs. Manguini and Mr. Gibson to tell us about Mrs. LeGroy.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mrs. Manguini, the elementary school principal, and I am incredibly honored to stand before you to honor our Teacher of the Year, 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Rhonda LeGroy. I think about this as not just honorable solely on the title of Teacher of the Year, but it just reflects the hard work, the heart, and everything that goes into teaching every day. I've had the great privilege of watching Mrs. LeGroy shape young minds every day. She will take the biggest challenge and wear it with grace and grit until it's accomplished. One of my favorite things about her. Every day in her classroom is different, but when I go in, the one thing remains true, and that's that she wants every child to feel valued, heard, and honored, and that they are. If you spend any time with Mrs. LeGroy in her room or in conversation with her, you learn very quickly that it's more than just teaching as a profession. It really is a calling. She strives to go above and beyond, not only because it's expected, but because she gives 100% in everything that she does. Whether it's staying late to have meaningful lessons the next day, she spent her part of her summer organizing our literacy library on her own time, and we are still trying to get her out of the parking lot by 6 p.m. She's getting better. She's getting better. Mrs. LeGroy makes sure that no teacher works alone. She has an incredible mentor spirit and leads her team in many facets. She's a go-to for her team and for myself. Beyond the classroom, she leads our school community with new mentors. She heads the Salmon in the Classroom, the Green Club. She participates in the Teacher Cadet Program. She chairs Science Olympiad for many years. And with Green Club, she has received the highest award available, and the list goes on and on. She is the kind of colleague that others turn to for guidance and support, and that every child deserves. To Mrs. LeGroy, thank you for being the person that shows up early, stays late, and gives 100% to your students in our school. Your passion, your dedication, and the love that you pour into everything you do is something that inspires all of us. Thank you.
Nervous if you're going to be wearing the same shirt that was in your picture. That would be a little pretty close. Before I get into my speech, just one thing I thought that was cool, just pointing out as the top 10 kids were walking through here. And it's cool, Matt had 4 of those 10 kids, so that was a really cool thing. And just watching them interact with him was also very cool. That shows you how long you've been here. So it's with great pride and admiration that I stand before you today to recognize someone who embodies the heart, soul, and spirit of teaching. Richmond Middle School is honored to recognize Mr. Clendenin as our 24-25 Outstanding Teacher of the Year. Mr. Clendenin teaches 5th grade math and science on one of our 2 dynamic teaching teams. From the moment you step into his room, it's clear that something special is happening. His passion for teaching radiates through every lesson, every experiment, every question asked, and every answer explored. Whether it's continuing complex math concepts or igniting curiosity through science demonstration, Mr. Clendenin brings learning to life in a way that is both inspiring and impactful. But what truly sets Mr. Clendenin apart is not just his deep knowledge of and creative instruction, it's his relationships he builds with his students. In his classroom, every child feels seen, heard, and valued. He creates an environment of belonging and acceptance where students support one another and grow not only academically but personally. His dedication to fostering camaraderie and community helps students believe in themselves and in each other. Mr. Clendenin's influence extends beyond textbooks and test scores. He's a mentor, a role model, a steady presence in the lives of his students. He reminds us of the power a great teacher has, not only to teach, but to uplift, to connect, and to inspire. On behalf of the entire Richmond Middle School community, thank you, Mr. Clendenin, for your unwavering commitment, your incredible heart, and your excellence in education. Congratulations on this well-deserved recognition as our Teacher of the Year.
And finally, from Richmond High School, we have Stacy Wallach, and we will hear from Ms. Sabo and Ms. Warwick.
Thank you so much. Some words to describe Stacy Wallach: kind, understanding, and patient. She is extremely patient. During her time at Richmond High School, Stacy has transformed our life skills classroom to include a coffee cart and is currently overseeing the running of multiple businesses, such as the students creating wax melts for sale, as well as creating centerpieces and growing plants in our greenhouse. Ms. Wallach focuses on social skill development and looks to provide real-life experiences for her students. I think I speak for all of her students in her classroom when I say she goes above and beyond. There's one student who generally, almost every day of the week, brings her an apple from the lunchroom to make sure that she has enough to eat at lunch and says, "I want to come back to school next year to be in your classroom, Miss W." So, for behalf of Richmond High School, as well as all the students in your classroom, thank you for everything that you do, Stacy.
So I'm Char West, the varsity volleyball coach. Since I've been back here for the last 5 years, I have taken a team to Bristol College to the team camp. One, that is my alma mater, that's where I graduated, and it was a phenomenal experience. So every year, because I had so much interest, I've taken 2 teams, not just one. This year, unfortunately, they were like, okay, because I took 2 teams, Other schools started to take 2 teams, and just the varsity level of competition got a little bit lower. So they told us we couldn't this year. And then at the last minute, they had a cancellation, and they called me and they're like, hey, you want to bring 2 teams? And I'm like, yeah. So we are getting to bring 2 teams again. And I promised them I would try to make them a little bit equal, which is a great, I'm excited that we can take 2 teams because all of these camps, Hillsdale College comes and runs an individual camp for us. The girls work hard. And for the first time in a long time, we won a district this year. And so a lot of their hard work is paid off. And to be honest, I'm graduating, 2 of them were here in the top 10, but I'm graduating 4 seniors, and I have 5 positions that will be open this year. And I have no idea who's going to fill them. So I'm excited that I will have 20 girls going to camp this year. So, and it wasn't hard to get them. I have 1 girl, I have no girls that are 7th grade going into 8th grade. And to be quite honest with you, I do have some really good athletes in 7th grade that are going into 8th grade that I started a youth program that are pretty good that maybe could have hopped in. But no, all of the girls that are going to 20 will be 9th through 12th graders this year. So the camp consists of 3 days. It's a Sunday through Tuesday. It is an overnight. We stay in the dorms. I have plenty of parents coming with me and school staff, I guess. Sarah Pastuchin comes, she's secretary of the middle school. Ange Jones has come, not sure if she is this year, I don't know if anyone heard, but Jordan tore her ACL. So it's a little devastating for her, and she'll be going in for surgery soon. So I'm not sure if the timing will work out for her to attend. But Patty Esselink, who is here, will be one of my moms there. Her youngest daughter will be going. And Jordan Scopus, the JV coach, will be attending this year as well. So and Amber Jackson will be going, so I guess she's on staff with me. But I love the way it is set up. It's not volleyball all day, every day. We get there in the afternoon, and the sessions start at 1:30. And so our girls will play for 2.5 hours in the afternoon. We'll go back, and the parents that come with us, we bring our own food, and we will cook in the kitchen there and make stuff. And the girls will eat, and then we'll go back from 6 to 8:30, come back. Perfect time for them to take a shower, and they have a little fire pit outside the dorms connected to the wall, and we'll do s'mores or something and just have some bonding time. The next day, the girls will get up, and all mornings from 9 to 12 are activities that are not volleyball related, but just becoming better athletes. So we can go to a training for injury prevention. And those are things that I choose. So when we get there, all the coaches go in and we have a draw. It's almost like the NFL draft. And we're choosing our activities. And so injury prevention is always great. Mental toughness is great. I always choose sand volleyball. The girls like to go out there. We go to Bobby's Lake and they do a water workout. Not their favorite, but I like them. They do the workout. Biking, mountain biking, they can just do spinning class. It's just a great experience of 4 different sessions for about 45 minutes. Yoga, we do yoga every day just because it's an opportunity to stretch out. And then in the afternoon is when we're a team, and I have 2 teams there though, and they'll be playing in the afternoons. So, I'm trying to think. We're there the whole time, it's plenty of chaperones. 2 chaperones are paid for each team. After that, it costs me $44 a night for the room. Probably the cheapest hotel they're going to get there. So, yeah, does anyone? And this year it was $1,475. But if you pay before, if you pay early, put a deposit of $200 down per team, they knock $200 off. So really, it's $1,200, $1,275. I usually, last year, what I did is I figure out the cost based on X amount of players. I think I do 16, so it might be lowered a little bit now that we have 10 and 10. And then I pay the deposit out of my activity account, which will be $400. And then that money, when the girls actually pay for camp, that money we use for food. And Patty will go out, we'll buy lasagnas or sloppy, we'll just get some things from Gordon's or wherever and bring some fresh food. And it's a great experience. The girls, it's great. And there's no questions.
Any questions from the board? Okay, our next meeting we will vote on. Thank you for coming. Okay, our next item on our agenda is another extended trip request to Otis, Michigan with Ms. Kelly Nicholas.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to to allow us to come in and talk to you guys. I know we don't see you guys all the time because we're out on the field or in the gym or doing all those things. But you'll notice on the agenda, there's 2 different locations that were listed because at the time of filling out the paperwork, I wasn't sure which way we were going to go. You're not hearing any of this because you're not supposed to know this. But so what we're trying to do is July 19th and 20th. It will be in Otisville. It's at Covenant Hills Retreat Center is where it's being hosted at. It is put on by North American Spirit, who we use every year, whether they're coming into our building or we're going to something of theirs. Last year we went to Grand Rapids and we did a day trip, but still allowed the kids to spend the night and kind of get that experience. Well, this year, the incoming senior class expressed that they really wanted to do a camp overnight. So I got a hold of my friend who runs the camp and said, what are our best options? So we could have done Kalahari, we could have done a lot of different things, and the price tag on those is extremely high, and you know, I'm just not going to do that. I want the best opportunity for them. Kind of playing off of what Shar said about the schedule, we get there in the afternoon on the first day, and we go until about 6 or 6:30, and then we have open time. So that'll be times where we do things that we typically do with our team. So we'll do Cheer Olympics, and we'll do you know, different team bonding things. The next day we have sessions that aren't just cheer related. So the seniors will go to a senior seminar. They do nutrition classes. So the same kind of thing, like she was saying, that they offer, a lot of the camps offer different opportunities. So it's a way for the kids to get exposed. There's also college athletes and college coaches that are involved in it. So it allows the girls to pick the brain of people that have been there, done that, along with getting exposure to coaches, and kind of see what things are out there. So we are with them the whole time. I'm going, Coach Melena will be there, Coach Tracy will be there. There's probably going to end up being 4 or 5 of us actually that will be there. I don't know how many kids that we're going to have. When I calculate things and I look at what's coming from the 8th grade and what we currently have, we could have one of our biggest teams this year and be close to like 35 to 37 kids. So it's a great opportunity for everybody that's involved. And we kind of put different things out there for them to be able to help raise the money, because it's not cheap to go to an overnight event. But the experience that they're getting, and because it's something that I'm not telling the kids this is what we're doing, it's something that's coming from the kids, they're going to be all over trying to figure out ways to make this happen. So we're super excited to be able to do this for them. And like I said to Elizabeth, she doesn't know this. And I know you won't come home and tell Emily, so we're good. It's something that I'll share with the kids once we have tryouts and we have all of that information. So that's where we're at with that. The food and everything is all included in the camp. So we don't have to worry about buying food or doing anything like that. It's the room and board, all of that is all part of the cost for it. So, any questions that I can help answer? Yes?
So roughly 35 to 37 have the opportunity, is what you're saying.
Anybody that's going to be on my team is going to
Has the
has the opportunity to go.
And then what are we doing for kids? You said the fundraising stuff. What are we doing for someone that might not be able?
That's where our Cheer Booster Club comes into play. And anytime we have kids that are in a financial strait, they have a scenario that they set up to take care of those kids. And it's not anything that's public, that, you know, other parents, they don't know about it. We just take care of it.
All right, thanks.
Yep. Anybody else?
Thank you for coming forward.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, next item on our agenda is our elective course curriculum and resources.
So before Billy begins, in your link, Cindy uploaded a lot of documents. There's a lot. If anybody wants, this is what, if you print it out, what it would look like. If you want to review the printed copy, we have it. If you want a hard copy, we'll make a hard copy. But there's no action tonight. It's more of the presentation. The action will come in 2 weeks. So obviously, if there's questions that come in after Billy, or you have time to digest more of the presentation, please let us know. There's a lot here.
So as Brian indicated, as you see with the binder, if you started to look through it, it is a lot. It's not really the scope of this many different subject areas at the same time going through a curriculum is a pretty big task this year. So I'm going to kind of walk through and summarize what we did in our time together, kind of where they are with building out their curriculums on paper, if you will, and what that looks like for resource needs and curriculum needs. So this is, I obviously cannot go through everything that is there. We would be here till tomorrow. So again, just kind of a summary to let you know kind of where everything stands with our curriculum for the electives and specialist departments today. And then again, if you have questions after you have more of a chance to go through everything, I would be happy to answer those next week too. So like I said, it was a lot, it's a big task. So the curriculum work days this year, we were able to get the electives or specialist team, so it was a K-12 team for each elective department over the course of 2 full days and 2 half days of guided work time together. So I was pretty much with them each of those sessions and times together. So the departments that includes are Health and PE department, the Performing Arts, Spanish, STEAM, Technology, and Visual Arts, and that is made up of a total of 19 teachers altogether. So the goals that I set forth for those 4 days together was to review their current curriculum and resources so that I could myself get a better understanding of what they had, what they were working with, where their needs were. And then from there, we started to develop scope and sequence documents, which I will share with you a few of those examples. We also spent time considering really that vertical alignment. So they pretty much all indicated that that was the first time for most of them, that they had been here, where they really truly had the K-12 team all together, so they could really look at, how do our, elementary technology classes build up to the middle school and build up to the high school. They really hadn't had opportunity for those conversations in the past. Again, or if they had, it'd been a while, and these were new staff members perhaps. So that was another good chunk of time spent there. And then from there, really identifying the resource needs that they had, aligning with those curriculums that were being put together. And then they also spent a little bit of time if the course descriptions needed some updating after all of this, they sort of have that ready to go so that if needed, we could propose that before the next course guidebook next year. So this is an example of the scope and sequence document, and so it was kind of, again, a challenge, right? It is very different than like the last few years we've done each of the core departments. So last year English, the year before that math, science and social studies before that. You have, one department, one class, and so the whole year to go through. And it was K-12, don't get me wrong, it was definitely still a big task, but very different when you're talking about one subject area versus all of the different electives, right? And so it was kind of a little bit different approach. And each of them, each department had kind of their own way that they were keeping track of their curriculum, their own different versions of documents and things. So this was an opportunity to just try to kind of simplify initially to make sure that we had the most key components of curriculum kind of down in one place and in a similar fashion for me and for you to be able to review it and for them to kind of be able to see what each other was doing. So that was sort of the goal of this. And so I do call it a scope and sequence versus, a full curriculum. So it's kind of just like the bare bones, kind of the skeleton of what that curriculum is going to be built on in its totality. So the things that are included in these scope and sequence documents, which you do have available, the ones that are completed, so they're broken down into units of study for each of the classes. They are absolutely aligned to the content standards, so you see that indicated in one of the columns there. And then also in your packets, you do have the link to the actual standards. So the technology standard is there with the technology classes, or the PE standards are there for your PE classes. So you can see what they're referencing by those letters and numbers, but to type them all out in there would have been a lot. So they did just use their code. The timeline as far as how long each unit of study would take, then they went on to look at the available resources and activities that go along with each unit, and then how they assess them. So those were kind of our big pieces that we wanted to make sure we had identified for each unit. So again, this one is just an example that I grabbed that kind of had all the pieces I could kind of highlight. Something that I like about this one is you can see that in the activities and resources, this teacher was able to take it to the step of having them actually be clickable links. So very easy. If she had to be out all of a sudden unexpectedly, we would have this ready to go for the next person who might have to step in. So not everybody is quite there at that same place yet. Again, everyone came in at a different point in preparedness and in where they were walking in with their curriculum. But again, this is something, that's where we're kind of trying to get to.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Do all of the areas have standards?
Yes. Yeah, all of our areas that are part of this, they do, yeah. And in some, there's some looseness, again, it's a little different than ELA, you have very, very specific, but so like if we're building that STEAM course, that's a good example, right? So she pulls from actual the science standards, she pulls from math standards, she pulls from ELA standards, so she is pulling from standards. But again, it's not like there's this document that says, these are the STEAM standards, but she is absolutely basing her content in actual content standards that exist and that our kids should be utilizing.
Thank you.
Yeah. I grabbed this one. So one of the areas that we also were hoping that the teachers would be able to highlight is kind of at the top of their document. It's sort of, it's hard to see the coloring, but light blue. And it was, if they could try to connect to a core subject matter. So these are electives courses. Certainly they have their own place and their own importance. But where, if we were going to connect it to the core subject matter, where would that fit in? So Spanish, kind of an obvious connection, but related to ELA, right? And then also asking them their connection to a career pathway. So if they weren't able to say it headed directly into a subject matter, or maybe it's both, what would that career pathway be? And so again, in the case of Spanish, they said, this is obviously really going to help students towards global careers and be those worldly students and leaders. So that was something else we are looking for. And I liked band. And Molly and I honestly talked about this a lot. She kind of was like, band can relate to everything, but she could really argue the point with me. So I said, everything she said, it made sense to me, right? So it really does support so many pieces of their academics across the board. So she really felt like there was a lot of strong connections there. The high school has started to move into using an actual curriculum warehouse, if you will. So some of those teachers are a little step ahead of using just that basic scope and sequence document that I just showed on the last couple of slides. So those teachers in other buildings, and even some of the newer teachers at the high school, hadn't really been using this Atlas tool. And so again, that was where it came in. We needed something to all be on the same page, so that was the scope and sequence document. For the teachers that have already been in the process of getting their curriculums loaded into this Atlas warehouse, I did not force them to take that out of here and put it into my spreadsheet. I understand that they have the same information here in Atlas. I have access to it. It was a little trickier for me to bring in a way that I could share with you effectively. And they are also at different stages. So they are kind of on this screen, you can kind of see the first chunk that it's going to have them build out an Atlas. And so keeping in mind, most electives teachers have 3 or 4 or 5 different classes that only they are teaching, right? So their pace at completing these curriculum documents is definitely understandably slower than an English teacher who might teach 1 or 2 different levels of English, but they're still around the same standards. So these teachers do have quite a bit in there, but it's not quite as complete. So they have these first chunk done of each of their classes that they might be teaching. They're identifying the standards, they're placing their assessments in there because they do have them that they're using. They have essential questions, but it's not fully built out. Like if you look at it, it doesn't look like the full picture quite yet, but that is the work that they're doing. So they are in that same process, they're just using a different tool. And again, eventually, certainly, I know Ms. Szabo has the expectation that all high school teachers will be utilizing the Atlas warehouse to have their curriculum, so we'll continue to support that work. And it really is a nice place. It is a nice tool. There's other ones out there, so we'll decide if this is the direction to go or not, but this is where theirs are currently for a few of the high school classes. And another nice thing that Atlas does, I talked about the timeline on the previous document. This is an example of how Atlas shows their timeline. So if a teacher plugs in, okay, these are my 7 units, and this one's going to take this many weeks or this many days, it gives you a really nice timeline across the school year of where the different units are. So it's just a little bit more interactive, more visually appealing, kind of a more complete place than just a spreadsheet that I put together for them. So another topic that they covered, or another task that they kind of did together, was having those vertical alignment conversations. So again, as a technology department, we have the same standards, K-12, they're in different bands, and obviously it gets more rigorous as you go from kindergarten through 12th grade AP computers class, of course. But they really took time to dig in, and they listed out each of the different technology classes that we were offering K-12, and they started plugging in kind of the standards and/or just the content activities that they were doing in each one. And then they started color coding. Oh, this red one, well, we are doing that already in programming, so let's get rid of it in programming 2. We already covered it in programming 1. Oh, nobody's doing this City X, whatever it might be, right? So they really started to see where holes were, where overlap was, where they could go higher level on some things because the kids were being built up to it. They discovered some different resources that maybe another teacher was already using that, oh, well, we could share that, a couple of the teachers could be using that, or we should purchase more of those because it works so well in that class. So really, really great and deep and rich conversations there. So one of the things that came from that, and I just used technology because theirs was kind of, I would say kind of the most in-depth group that got to the point of realizing there was some need for adjusting the classes once they laid it all out like that. And so there are a few pilot courses that they are going to try out next year. If all goes well, we would bring them to you for full approval afterwards, so when that fits in the timeline of next school year. But so for right now, they worked with their building administrator and with the counselors to make sure it would work, scheduling wise, to offer these for a pilot 1-year trial. And so what came out of that was to offer theater for a full year at the middle school, kind of merging a couple of the technology classes at the middle school into one creative technology class, so that pulled from a couple different and sort of put them together into one place. And then the STEAM agriculture class. So again, those will be 3 that we discovered there was kind of a need for changing, and so those are being piloted. So you will notice, if you were to look through the course and sequence document, we kind of didn't go too in-depth on, like, for ones that we're doing a pilot, so STEAM or creative technology, we don't have those scope and sequence completed yet in the document because we want to do the pilot first. If it's not going to be a go, well, then I didn't want them to spend the time doing it. So there's some holes in what's complete so far, but they're intentional. Where they are placed is intentional.
That's 7th and 8th grade?
It is. This one is the STEM agriculture. And actually that might, yes, this is the creative technology pilot. I just grabbed a little screenshot of one just so you could see what it looked like. They really did have to put together a full, proposal to us to be approved.
There's like a curriculum, so to speak, for each one of them.
Yes, there is. Yeah, that was all part of the proposal packet. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a expectation of here's what kids will be able to do at the end. But realizing it's a pilot that we may have to go like this
Right,
at the
right.
end. Because we don't necessarily lay it out right and define it.
Yeah.
But at least there is a path or.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
We're not just.
It's not just, let's
We're gonna apply
get
it.
what we want to do.
Yeah, no, it was, and again, in these ones, I mean, because these came from that process, it wasn't, I mean, not that it's a bad thing for a teacher to just have a great idea and propose a class, that's great, but that these ones truly came from those conversations about alignment and about where standards are and aren't that we're hitting. So I really think these are going to be pretty well received and very appropriate classes to make sure our students are getting those skills that they need. So I think we'll have some really good outcomes with these, would be great, yes.
Are we losing any classes because of this, as our options?
So there is some shifting, yes, but a class might be moving or might end up being removed because there's only so many times to be offered, throughout the day. We will continue to put them on course request guides. So if students, still like that, and as teachers we're thinking, it really would be better if we merge these two-part class into one class because the standards just aren't enough to cover 2 full semesters. But we would still offer them to students on the course request and see where that falls, right, like we do anyway. But the thing to kind of keep in mind is even if none of these are blowing a class out of the water. It's taking pieces of that class and putting it together with a couple pieces of another class just to make it more consistent with what the standards really require of those classes to be doing at a given time. I mean, it really came, the middle school theater really was there are all these standards that at the high school level, those kids are, they're loving it and they're getting really deep with it. I think if anyone went to the musical, right, I mean, that is some really high level theater that they're doing. But at the middle school, it was like they weren't quite able to get through the standards they needed to at that foundational level to get them prepared for that. So they were able to kind of collaborate and work together and say, okay, we could pull this here, and so now we can make theater a full year versus a semester, which it was before. Does that mean something else is going to have to move out? Yes, right? I mean, it would happen like that, but we'll still make sure that the students have the option. And I don't know off the top of my head like which moving pieces that was this time, but I could find that out.
We meet next week to begin finalizing the master schedule in order to get to assignments. So at that point, we'll know we may not run 5 of the section, we may only run 4 of it, because I don't want to pick up this section.
So health was one of the content areas where we did need to look at it in a little bit more traditional manner. So we haven't had a new health book in quite a few years. I think definitely more than 10. And I think it's several more than that too. So we ended up kind of narrowing it down. Mr. Barnes and Mr. Baba kind of really had taken the lead on this as our 2 health teachers, our 2 teachers that do teach health classes. And so they, they really dug into, had a lot of different samples and different books and different models. One of the key things is health standards can be, I don't want to say they can be trickier. A lot of the book providers will just do the national standards and they don't hone in on the Michigan standards. So that's tricky for us. So that kind of took a lot of the choices out. Like if they really weren't willing to collaborate with us and like get it to where this book, we can see like the alignment between the national and our Michigan standards. If they didn't have those crosswalk documents and could verify that, those were pretty much off our list. So we really narrowed it in on these 2, which was the Savvis Health book and curriculum, or the McGraw-Hill, which is the Glencoe book and curriculum. And so as you are well aware, we have adopted Savvis for ELA and we have adopted Savvis for math, K-12. That being said, the team was, as they looked for it, it was very evenly balanced between the 2. They found, lessons that were very aligned with the way that they prefer to teach classes. They really felt like the, rigor level was similar in both. They felt like the vocabulary that was being used was at the student appropriate levels. Both books had areas where if it was being taught at the 8th grade level versus 9th grade, or for those students that may take it early, they had some appropriate pieces there. They had units for nutrition and other health-related classes that you might teach at different times besides just health. So they both offered pretty much everything we had on our list of what we were looking for. They ended up, their choice would be the Savvis book. As you can see, it is a little bit more for the 5-year contract. But if you do spread that out, because it's a 5-year contract, that's less than $400 a year difference. I mean, so they're pretty darn close in price when you do look at it over the full span of the contract. Both come with a teacher, or both come with like actual books and digital component. Again, the Savvis had a much more clear alignment with the Michigan standards. Because we have such a relationship with the Savvis and their staff already, they were able to put in a help ticket because they didn't have the Michigan one complete, and they escalated it, and they've been communicating with me, and we haven't even purchased it from them yet, so they're pretty attentive to our needs with making sure that we would have that. The McGraw-Hill, it is currently in line with national standards. They do have an alignment document. It's not as thorough as what we will see with Savvis. So again, one of the things that they did end up liking, it was kind of interesting during one of our work days, Mr. Barnes, we were trying to get in, we had a passcode to get in and see all of the digital components for the Savvis Health book, but we were having trouble with our password, it wasn't liking us, it wouldn't let us in. And so he went down to an English teacher and just said, hey, can you log into your digital English so I can see what it's like? And she walked him through it and was showing him how wonderful it was and explaining how much she loved it and could show him all these different pieces and all the bells and whistles that come with it. He walked back in the room sold. He was like, oh my gosh, this is great. Not only because it really is a good product, but there's already a ton of experts in the building, right? So if he gets stuck on something, he knows he can go to an English or a math teacher and they kind of already know the drill and know how the program works. So that was kind of nice too. Eventually we did get the link to work and he was able to dig in and there's a lot of great stuff. So Anyway, so that was their recommendation from the team is that we would like to go ahead with the Sabbath Health curriculum.
Quick question.
Absolutely.
So for line 2 on both those, it talks about the teacher student books and the digital student licenses.
Yes.
And then the digital teacher center. What
Yeah.
is the difference between those?
So the digital student licenses are a lot more student activity, student interactive focused, whereas the teacher center is more like a teacher dashboard. So the teacher can do a lot more pushing things out, and the kids can take it digitally, and they can access some things digitally, but it's a lot less two-way interactive. It's a bit more like one-way teacher-driven for the students, like the teacher's doing all the, has all this control electronically, if you will, and, has access to things, but it's more like, I'm gonna push this assignment out to you electronically, and you can do it, you could even do it on paper, or you can type it in. Whereas the Sabbath, it's, the students are watching a video that goes with the, has the questions built in, and it's just a lot more like modern, I guess you would almost say, right? It's much more two-way interactive is the difference, yeah.
So what would the teacher center give the discretion to the teacher of what specific things that she might feel would fit those students better versus the student licenses?
So they would both would have that control. So the teacher would only turn on, in either case, what they would want their students to have access to. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The nice part about Sabbath is it is customizable to each individual student. The resource that comes with it, you can say, I want these 5 kids to have X and these 5 to have Y. And the kids don't even know they're two different assignments. So if you've got a child that is working at a different level, high, low, you can customize their assignment. Okay, that's just a general statement of all this, and the resources teachers have.
Yeah, and that's, that answers my question, because that's what I was looking for, is the ability to customize.
Absolutely. Both of them do have that, yeah. But yeah, like I said, Sabbath is just, and maybe it's hard because I'm probably biased, right? So I'm very, very well aware of what Sabbath has, and so I can't, there's really nothing that we've come across that's like, oh man, I wish it did this. And other, like I said, we have that relationship with them already, so when we do come across those things, we call up Megan and she's figuring out a way to help us. So, that speaks for something, I think, a little bit, so.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
How does the curriculum differ from what we're currently teaching?
So it's really going to be pretty much the same. It's because it's the same standards. We are still absolutely going to cover the same Michigan health standards that we have to cover. And so that's why we wanted to make sure that whichever curriculum we grabbed, it was going to cover those same standards. And so both of these. It's really just, it's updating things just more current, right? So if they were doing a lesson on substances, it's the substances that exist in 2025 versus the ones that existed in 2010, right? So it's just new.
So to meet the standards, have the standards changed?
The standards have probably changed since the time the book that we have currently, the standards would have changed since then. It'll be in there, or I could pull it up later if you would like me to, but the health standards are attached, and the front page usually says what year those ones were adopted, right on the cover.
In regards to topics being discussed?
So I don't know what changed from like the previous accepted health standards to the currently accepted health standards. I'm not sure like what things were added during that time.
It's been a change in years. I was just gonna say,
It's not so that.
yeah, I was just gonna say, even when I was in the building, there was not a change. It's been pretty solid what's coming out of the state.
So Brian can alert us when he finds that page. Any other questions on our health curriculum? The Spanish is also, they were kind of looking for something a little bit more traditional as far as curriculum. They do have books that they use, but both teachers indicated they really don't rely heavily on their books because Spanish is such, it's verbal, it's speaking, it's, we have to hear it, and so they felt like they often, it's like you use the book for a little bit, but then you're very immediately going off to a different resource that makes a little bit more sense, that really immerses the students in Spanish. So again, this one we really didn't explore further than Sabbath because there were other ones that had books, so kind of like that last with the health, for the Spanish, you could buy a Spanish book and get the online Spanish digital resources as well, but Savvis offers it as the digital content only, and so that was really what they were looking for, and that was what we were able to find through this. It's called Realidades. So again, we could purchase it as a 6-year contract that would give those 2 Spanish teachers' classrooms access to the Spanish content. And so again, it would be that same design as the online ELA or math or health, that route. So the students will have that same familiarity with the tool and the resource itself. But they would be able to use it for Spanish. So it definitely, it is still a curriculum. It still paces you through how the students should be working. So I think it would be a really great and valuable resource for them, but they were pretty solid on their decision that buying a whole set of books was just not what they needed to do for the Spanish program. So I felt like we could accept that if they were feeling comfortable with using this as their tool. And again, they still have the books that they've been using. It's not like we're throwing them away. They just don't use them. It's just not their main resource.
As we heard from the kids, they have fruit in there and
Right.
no chart.
Right. Yes, exactly. Okay, so that was kind of the planning out curriculum standards, that piece of it, those big resources. This is another example of a tool that we use together as a team. And so once they had their scope and sequence or that curriculum document that they may have been using, if it was a different one, they really started to then lay out, okay, what am I missing? When I look through my units of study, where am I missing something that I really need that would really either enhance what I'm already doing, or I'm scraping by, I have two of this thing, but I really could use a whole class set so that everybody could be learning it at the same time. So that was that next step that they did kind of at the end of this process. And so they were letting me know what class we were talking about, so they did this as a department and then broke it down by class. So again, this one is just kind of an example for me to walk it through, and then you guys have access to each of them in detail. So it lets us know what class we were talking about, what it is that they were looking for. They're giving me the vendor information for actually ordering if approved, and cost. And then ultimately, they did connect it to the standard in that right-hand column. Some of these, like the elements for guitar, it's an actual book that gets part of a curriculum purchase. It would cover all of the standards. So as she didn't type them in there, it would cover, right, it's a curriculum book. So she didn't list all of those there. Or something, again, we can understand like the drama notebook subscription. It is, that's a program that would be used for students to write drama. So it's kind of like if you're, instead of typing a paper, and it's the normal format, this puts it automatically into like the drama style where like the actor and what they're saying and what they're doing, and walks them through those pieces and guides them on how to include all the right pieces, all the right characterization and everything. So really cool subscription if we're able to get that for them. So a couple other things to point out on the sheet, just again for your reference when you're looking at it, they did end up, once they kind of had like their wish list almost, if you will, like okay, we laid it all out on paper, this is what we've got. Then the next step I asked them to do was tell me if it was something that would be an annual recurring cost. So something like, again, that drama notebook, we would want to buy that year after year if that was the resource we were going to use for our theater classes. So they would, they highlighted that with kind of the orangish pink annual. So I would know, okay, that's something, if we go with this, I would have to make sure we could pay for it year after year. If it was something that was just a one-time, so again, that middle school theater class that we talked about expanding from 1 semester to 2, they're going to add a lot more of the standards in there and cover a lot more pieces of the theater program than they have before. So she doesn't have it quite itemized and broken out yet, but she would be looking at purchasing some basic props and costumes. And she could say she felt like in a $400 budget, but that would be a one-time. She'd buy it this year, and then she'd have those for the future. This particular group, you won't see this everywhere, but this was the performing arts group. And so they had, we ended up doing a piano audit. And so we had a repair coming out. One of our pianos was getting repaired. And so while the gentleman was here, they asked if he could just take a look at our other pianos. And so we did get a full piano audit. And then that kind of led to other conversations about some of those bigger performing arts pieces. They talked about risers and shells. So I asked them if we could kind of table that one for now, because I feel like that's getting us into a much larger conversation. So some of the sheets you might see, and so that's why I highlighted those ones yellow. So we're not really talking about those ones right now, but I allow them to stay on the list so that we know, okay, that's something we do need to get back to. It is something that's still important. That's just probably not the right now ask, but it is something we want to come back to and dig a little bit deeper in with you guys in the near future.
Okay, you said near future, but what's really the idea for that? You say near future?
I mean, I would think in like the next year. So like if we can get kind of this stuff out of the way right now,
Okay,
and that'll be like next step.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Many of the, I'm just getting back to like we're talking about it.
It all come out of the bond. Just, is there no plan?
I know.
Bond.
Right.
That's
We already have our first and second list. I know, it's tough. And I mean, it is, right, the can of worms, when you start asking, okay, what are we thinking, what do we need? I mean, the truth, their desires come out, so, like I said, I didn't want to say, oh my gosh, no, I'm not asking about cannabis, guys, but no, I think there's a time and a place for that, but, you know, we gotta take care of kind of the more traditional curriculum things first. In some cases, it's a little bit like some of the, you know, one-time pieces, like just on this list, like she's asking for a few different things related to the costuming and things, so she needs some additional storage bins. We kind of did the whole list, so some are everything, well, that's not really curriculum, but if we're buying materials, we need something to put the materials in, so that is all included on the list. So these next couple slides is just a quick breakdown. Like I said, we would truly be here all night if I went, you know, item by item, but I will give you kind of the grand total. And so one thing, it's really hard to see, it's too bad the colors didn't come through very well, I should have picked bolder colors. In the total where it says total 24, 25, so that kind of middle column, those are actually highlighted green, and I'm going to go back. Again, it's a little difficult to see, it kind of is all muted together. But right around, like where these pink ones start, oh, this is something else I didn't mention to you. When they identified some items on their list and we had a further conversation, some items I was able to help them realize that was really more of a building level budget decision, or a budget item, I should say. And so it's identified here, but it won't show up in the grand total for what we're looking at because it's something they've agreed that will come out of their building budget that they already have. So. Or in some cases, they were already paying for it from there, it's already accounted for, so I said there was no reason to move it, because that's where they've been paying for it, let's keep that as it is. But what they've done, thank you for the lights. So if they identified it as green, that was a high priority. So green was, we really are seeking this year, this is a high needs for what we're trying to address with our curriculum. If at all possible, please can we get that this year? And then if they left it unhighlighted, so no color, that was still something that's very important, but we could wait. So when I talk about waiting, again, I talked about an English department or math or science or social studies, that's one department. This was essentially 8 different departments, right? So my thinking, and Brian and I are talking about it, but is that I think it makes sense to maybe look at this as a 2-year plan. And we don't need to jump back probably quite yet to science or social studies. They are on the back end of the core classes. So if we look at electives as like a 2-year deal, then after that we can go back to looking, circling back to the core content. But I think that would allow us to truly get them set and like have everything that they need, make sure we're in really good shape with all of the curriculums. But that would be very difficult to do out of one budget, I think. So if we could think of it as a 2-year project kind of, we might be able to, again, get them a little bit closer to what they were really seeking. So, again, on the big sheets, you'll see green or no green, and then on my summary sheet, I have it as green or blue. So the green indicates for, in this case, this is the technology page. For elementary, she asked for a grand total of items at $3,900. For the middle school, they were looking for some technology items, so theirs is a little bit higher, so theirs is probably on the higher end, but again, it's technology, they're looking for technology items, those are expensive items, so that, we can kind of understand where that's coming from, but again, we could look at spreading some things over, so they have about $22,000 worth of things that they're looking for, really important right now, another 20,000 that they felt comfortable waiving off, you know, a year if we look at it as a 2-year plan. And then the final column is if it was something that was like a subscription, like we talked about that drama notebook subscription, so something that would be recurring that we'd have to buy year after year, if it was a workbook or something like that, then that would be in this final column so that I know that's something we would plan ahead for indefinitely. So, yeah.
I'm lost.
Okay.
24, 25, that's this school year. So that this is what we would spend now before the year is done. And then 25 to 26 to me is next year, so it would be purchased for August.
Right, so we do have to set aside, we did have the electives money set aside for this year,
Okay,
for 24, 25. Yeah.
okay, so,
You're thinking of 2 fiscal years, Margaret. After July 1, you've got, assuming the board approves a similar budget that they've done, you'll have another set of dollars to set aside for curriculum, which is at 25, 26 pop. Theoretically, you could order it all this summer.
But over the
June,
2 budgets.
One order in June, one order in July.
you answered where my mind was going, that, because I'm thinking, why, if all of this stuff is gonna happen at 25, 26, we're gonna get all of it, it's just gonna be paid for, but it's, am I hearing
That would
correctly
be
all
that would
of
be like
this-
the perfect dream. Absolutely, that's like that. If that's what could happen, we would all be so happy.
Right, because it should be the plan.
Right. So, I mean, some things that might slow us down a little bit. So again, technology is asking for technology items. I need to get IT, and I need to make sure that what they're
Sure.
looking at ordering, right? So those things.
Capacity to support.
Right.
Sure,
Right.
but in my mind, what I'm looking at though, we already had a budgeted amount for 24, 25,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
For this stuff, so this green stuff is what will happen that will.
It's within our budget,
Before June 30th.
Right.
Correct? And then the 25, 26 stuff is
So-
what we'll approve when we do our budget in May for next year, so that the stuff could be ordered and be here for the start of 25, 26.
In some cases, they're okay with like, you know, like not ordering, you know, like I said, technology,
No,
they
I don't
realize.
want some, I'm
Yeah.
thinking, am I,
But as a whole, yes,
Yes.
that's
right.
the
and-
correct.
and if-
When you
if
approve
in
the
2 years-
budget in June 23rd, you approve that budget, July 1, we technically could start ordering the stuff in that second column. Again, the assumption is you're going to approve a budget similar to what you've done in the past. with the
Right,
set.
but in my mind, as I'm looking, these are, this group, we've done English, science, this group, whether we're paying it in 2 different, we will have it for next school year.
Yes.
Because another part of my question, I don't know if this is the time to ask, but when the 3 piloted, what, they get stuff ordered, because I know you said some with the scope and sequence and when they're
Yeah.
looking at it, but how do you pilot it?
Without anything.
Correct.
So that was
So
part
we're-
of their pilot proposal, was they had to write in there if there was needs, and we had to, you know, make a decision on if those were feasible and doable. In most cases, so again, you saw the one for the middle school theater, she's up in the ante a little bit with that, it's
Right.
not drastic, right? I mean, so she knows she can get started with what she's looking at.
Right,
Yeah.
but even though it's not, and maybe I missed when you were talking,
Mhm.
it included it in here, but, or is it included in
Yeah,
here?
it was.
For the pilot
It
classes?
is, yes.
So what they need
It
is,
is,
okay.
yeah, because through that pilot process, that was part of what we agreed to, was to purchase a few
Okay.
things, and then it's living in these documents, that's where we placed it, yeah.
All right, that was my question.
So I guess I'm even more confused because now, why wasn't 24, 25 already ordered, or we're just getting around to asking their needs?
So this process started in January, so, I mean, keeping in mind, right, I came in new, so I can only say this for so long, I know, right? But so coming in, so that, you know, so it was January when I finally kind of had everything settled, and we started meeting was January with these electives teachers. So between January and April, their last one's April 21st, so between January and April, I met with every single one of those departments 4 different times, right? So, I mean, a lot of time went into this, and this is your sign of seeing our final culmination. My goal was really to have this to you guys last month, and there was just a couple, I hoped that the 2.5 days was going to be enough, and we got to the 2.5 days, and we needed like just a few more hours, and so we were able to sneak it into our April 21st PD day that we had. and they really got everything with a nice neat bow so that we could bring it to you
But
today.
it
I
truly
appreciate
takes-
you doing this. I
It
truly.
truly takes the year.
I was just gonna
for
say.
all the work to get to, I mean,
To this
it's been
piece.
like that before. It's not like this is something
No.
new or that maybe has never happened before. It's,
But the
it is-
piece, I think we all should know, because I lived this, we haven't done this ever.
I
I
mean,
mean, maybe somewhat.
I
in my
can't tell you how
mind's eye.
thankful the teams were. Honestly,
So
I mean,
this was a lot
every
of-
time they came together, they were just, thank you,
Yeah,
thank you.
a
thank
lot
you."
of work
But I think
taken
to look at
through.
that here, this particular group, if you will, are a lot of different things. It's not just one subject matter.
Exactly.
So they're working to do it. And so being able to break it into two, that's where my question, in my mind, all I want is that they're gonna have it next school year. And I didn't quite get the whole, how we're paying this, but now that I understand that, it's all gonna be done for next year. We're just gonna pay it two different ways. But this really is how the process, how long
It takes that long.
Absolutely.
I mean, the fact that she did it in 4 months,
Yeah.
she needs to,
And I mean, and don't get me wrong, like, they're definitely still, even the, you know, that curriculum planning piece will also be 2 years. Like, I will absolutely be spending a lot more time again with these groups next year.
right.
But, I mean, what they got done, and I shouldn't say this when we're at, but like, sometimes an elective teacher and a teacher who is, you know, I'm a passionate music person, I'm an art person, trying to put my passion down into an Excel spreadsheet is like torture to them. So that we, you know, like, I mean, it was a lot. We really had to work together very collaboratively to kind of get from like, I have this vision of what happens in my band to, okay, this is how it looks on paper when I need to, you know, put it in front of the board and you know, put my resources together. So it was a huge task and they were amazing to work with. I mean, it was a lot, but it was really enjoyable work and, you know, I think they got a lot out of it at the end. When you're asking someone to work that hard and they keep thanking you, I guess that's a good thing.
They're being encouraged.
Yes,
Exactly.
They're being
Yeah.
encouraged.
Yeah.
Is there just a overall spreadsheet from all of the?
Yep, so in your packet, so this is like what you're seeing right here is just a little snippet of the technology, but in the packet you have the full spreadsheet. So this is the health and PE totals. So again, health, we see that's at the bottom, that includes that book purchase that we talked about. I did use the Sabbath one here, but if we need to adjust, we could. And so again, health and PE, theirs was all, aside from the health book, theirs was all one-time purchases. They just really went through the inventory. Okay, we used to have 35 drum groups, we're down to 23, you know, like let's just make sure we have full sets of everything that we do in our health and PE classes was really kind of their task that they sort of took on to do. So that's their totals. STEAM, the K-5 and then the 6-7 STEAM classes. Again, that's kind of what they were looking at again. They were in a more technology related. They use a lot of software and things like that. Some robotics pieces, so theirs is, especially in the elementary, a little bit higher. But again, kind of more so one time. Like once she has those items that she needs, she'll be able to use them again and again. Performing arts, again, kind of just, yeah, got nothing as quite as expensive as the last couple, so for the most part, theirs was this year, and most things were kind of a priority for them, just because, again, I mean, you can tell by their numbers, they weren't asking for all that much stuff. Theirs is more about producing things, they didn't need too many things. So that is theirs.
So the sixth graders,
Mhm.
the reoccurring cost is 2,300?
So for band, so that one, it's on Miss Jack's line, but that is the grand total for all of Miss Jack's classes. So the 2,300, I know off the top of my head that the 2,000 is for the request for the band, it's escaping me, the drill for marching band is a $2,000 a year cost. So the $2,000 is that right there, is for the varsity marching band drill that they do. And then the 300, currently that is paid out of the band boosters account, but they are asking because they're, you know, when they're looking at this and we broke down curriculum, they said, well, that is our curriculum, like that is that's what we use to teach the kids how to do these performances. That is our curriculum cost every year. And again, if that goes out of boosters, then boosters could potentially pick up something else, you know, so it might be a little one in, one out kind of thing. But I could agree with that concept and line of thinking.
Thank you.
I can't remember what the other 300 is. I believe it is some other music, though, I do believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So no, good question. So yeah, the line is for that whole, all the classes that that teacher teaches. Good thing to point out. Thank you.
I think the thing that you can notice, we're dealing with one teacher. Because we're the size of our district, you know, you have one elementary teacher, you have one middle school teacher, you have one high school teacher. Hopefully they will stay for us to be here. But oftentimes when a teacher leaves and comes in, part of what we're looking at is this a teacher preference or is it part of the curriculum that we're trying to balance to get across.
Here's the visual arts requests. So again, there's where a little bit more supply oriented, but like, again, mostly like one time, this is, you know, a device that we didn't have or something that's, you know, we wanted one for the middle school and the elementary school in some cases. They do a lot of moving things back and forth, so if it was possible to have one each, that would be ideal for them.
And for the reoccurring on that, is that just the upgrades on the software?
When I can't think off the top of my head which hers is. I can pull it up right when I get over to back, I can pull my laptop out and then let you know as soon as what hers is.
Like if Shannon would be to be paid for any kind of.
That's my
Right, she was just.
Oh, it's on the Megan. Okay. And that's right.
And it even might be a supply, but like a supply that she knows goes with a certain project that would be an annual.
Like that. Like art or clay?
Yeah, play, for the play.
And keep in mind that our teachers do have an art budget, right, of their building budget, so we were very mindful of, you know, what is that covering and, you know, trying to kind of keep supplies as best we possibly could at the building level. So the goal was not to start paying for their supplies, that was not what we were after. So this should be more of a, like I said, like a piece of equipment, like for Ms. Campbell, that she just didn't have and could really do another unit if she had this item that was beyond just supplies. So that was kind of the lens that we tried to put with that. But I will look up and see what her current cost is because it's a state thing right now. And, oops, that should say Spanish request. It's just not updated that slide, I apologize. Let's see, Spanish, theirs is, kind of looks high, but again, remember, they were looking for that 6-year purchase of the online curriculum. And they also, there is, you might remember, we are using IXL as an intervention resource tool. IXL does offer a Spanish component. And so that would be really helpful for our students that were, again, kind of like tier 2. So like if they were really struggling with the content, then they could add that as an extra dose. In my mind, I kind of think perhaps an idea there would be, let's purchase that new Sabbath curriculum if we go that route and see if that offers enough of support, you know, because you can add students. If not, then maybe that IXL is in that other column. I think that is what our 607 is. It would be like an annual for that, but part of that recurring. But I think we wait on that one to see if we even need it. That would just be my thought. And so this is where our totals are. So the one in the 129,303 would be if we did not prioritize. So if I just added up everything that they're asking for as is, we'd be at 129,303. But if we do go the route of taking their green priority 1 and their blue priority 2 and splitting it over 2 budgets, that's what the split would look like. It would be 72,000 and 56,000. And then the recurring, so what I would have to be planning for annually if we went with everything, would be 27,695, because again, that multi-year, so like in the health book, the Spanish, we wouldn't be paying that every year. We would be paying a one-time larger sum this year and then not again for 5 years or 6 years. So I kind of tried to break that out.
We have the total for the curriculum as far as budgeted.
The initial budget was 187.5. We were down to 112 due to some of the courses that we started last year that we purchased after July and supply. So we're at 112.
So we have money for this.
And there were still a few things that aren't, I didn't want to go to that 112 because there's still a few other things,
Right.
loose ends to finish up this year.
Just a quick question. I'm just curious. Were there any like requests by teachers for pilot programs that weren't, I guess, approved or anything?
No, those are the ones that we got.
Okay, awesome.
That is it. Any other? I know it's a lot. It was a lot. It's been a lot, but it's a lot of really good stuff. So, obviously, like I said, as you have a chance to look through everything, we can talk again.
2017 was the last time state needed their health service.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time on this.
Yes.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Okay, next item on our agenda is Ms. Romsley and our future village bond consideration.
Tonight's presentation is basically getting to the 11th hour. The presentation tonight is to represent kind of a culmination of all the conversations and prioritizing the bond in terms of the need for the bond, millage, and ultimately the bond structure. When we met last, I had shared with you that the projections, we did not have the taxable value projections in the last meeting. And based on the tenor of the state, the total bond dollars was reduced a little bit when you looked at what we have been promoting. After that board meeting through tonight, we now have the taxable values for Macomb and St. Clair County. And so when PFM, you'll see in your packet, there's an email from PFM. Based on the taxable values, it actually is a 52.1454 millage per bond dollar value. So it went up slightly because the taxable values have increased. The sheet that you have in front of you, it's also in your packet, shows that we're still on track to reduce the millage rate from 6.7 to 6.5 this July, so taking a drop. So the proposal would go to the community in November of 24, November 4th of 25, to ask for a no increase over what we're currently paying, which is the 6.5 mils at that time. Given, and again, I'm going to scoot down, it's basically a 22-year payment that we're asking this bond to be spread. It will be done in 2 series. We generate $51.8 million in the actual selling of the bonds, and the difference would be the interest in bond proceeds that we would make, which would get us at 52.154. Again, it just explains some breakdowns that you can see. From that, probably document looks familiar to you. We've seen this in various fashions, and I think I shared the last one. Again, RJ for PFM was looking at this from the perspective of what taxable rates were across the state. Again, this has the taxable rates for Macomb and St. Clair counties. Here's your bond, here's what we anticipate capitalized interest, here's your total amount. The estimated total interest, etc. In the packet you have, you will see the average of the taxable value rates. So when you go down to 25, about 6.43% 5-year there, or 6.42, which is about a 2.52% average increase over the last 20 years. Again, you see the taxable rates have gone up. So we don't get our tax bill. We can expect our taxes across the board to be higher because the values of property are higher. This particular one shows the existing debt. We've talked about this is the 2017 bond refund. It is set to expire in '26. You've got the 2020, which was the original bond series that we sold for the 19 voter approved bond. This is set to expire in 2038. We look down here, the last payment. We did a couple, some refinances in '21 to lower the interest rate. That's set to expire in '27. That would drop off. And then the Series 2 that we sold from the last voter approved village, you can see down here, it's like 2038. Just all the bond series in a visual across the board. So the documents that you have in front of us is looking at, these are all the bond. This would be taking that $52 million and issuing two bonds. The first bond would be issued in March, again, assuming voter approval in November. The first bond would be issued in March of '26, when we actually go out and sell the bond and capitalize on the dollars. This is important because as you start having to pay the bills that come with designing and planning for this, assuming this passes by the voters, I would probably ask the board to pass a resolution that in December, when we authorize the architect and the construction manager that we've done, to pass a resolution to pay for the cost until we get the bond proceeds. So at some point, they have to come out of general fund and then we recharge the bond once the proceeds. The next bond would be issued in 2028, which would be a total of a $24.9 million bond. Again, you can see that issuance would roughly be July of '28, and then you see the pay down of the bond. This is key because what you're going to see in the next documents is planning for the bond. We have to make sure that the projects are covered with the funds that we have available based on the series that we're selling. Any questions at this point? We understand why the bond would yield more dollars because of the taxable values. The documents that you now have, the next one is how, and we literally worked a long time last week taking what we've been talking about and trying to get it into a dollar value that will fit the bond, yet try to target what we're trying to do with the bond. So the bond series 1 would be specifically towards the middle school and the parking lot addition at the elementary school. Those would be the accomplishments in series 1. In 28, that bond would be the elementary school and high school primarily. I'm going to go over kind of how we got to that kind of point and kind of what's covered. All of this is anticipation. Next Monday, we have a Treasury bond meeting because we have to have the bond application approved by Treasury. If they have any changes, we'll make those changes. And then the board next Tuesday, we were scheduled to have a special meeting to go over what the Treasury application looks like. And to actually approve the application. You then at 30 days, you have to wait to approve the language, which becomes the June 23rd board meeting. So what you have here, that's a summary of the bonds. The total is 52.1415. Start with the picture first. I'm a visual person, sometimes it helps. In order to get everything in the scope, there's a couple things that we look at. One is, when you submit your treasury application, you cannot be under 70% empty spaces in your building, or the treasury will ask you to reduce the capacity of the building so that you hit that 70% or higher mark. It's called the utilization formula. It's a calculation they use. So basically what they do is they identify what are classrooms, what are considered non-classroom space, like a computer lab is not considered a classroom. An art room is not considered a classroom. A STEAM room is not considered a classroom by their definition. These are classrooms where it would be more of a self-contained room. All 8th graders or associates are they're going to be using. So it's kind of complicated, but that's the treasury rule. So these numbers, what you're seeing on here is we literally go through and we start identifying what that might be now or in the near future. Like for instance, this room here is not a current computer lab. But if the building is at capacity, we're going to need a computer lab in that building. If the building is at capacity, we're going to have to identify other special education classrooms that are not current. So special education classroom where the pullout is not a classroom. So by doing that, we identify what rooms would have kids in or multi-purpose. That's how we get to that capacity. In this drawing, in order to get to the bond dollar values, and I'll talk about the scope in just a minute, you can see that this addition on the ends of the middle school is not in this projection. There's not enough dollars to get it, and it would put us under the 70% capacity of the building. It's in the third column, which I'm going to show you, that says if money is available at the end of the bond series, you have the ability to add it with the language that we'll be proposing for the bond. But in terms of the initial need, this is to get us to that initial need. Okay? Bathrooms and addition. So I'm going to show you. So you'll see the breakdown that AUK has put together in costing out the projects. You'll see what's in Series 1 and what's in Series 2. This would be the base of the wing, the addition. It's about a $13 million expansion of the middle school. There is a storage room that you can see that was left on because in a lot of the follow-up conversation, the need for storage is critical. It could be for a future, I just got to show the scope. And this is not the architect drawing, but here's that kind of storage that's attached to it. When we talked last time, it could be for a future gym or a future kitchen. It could be just storage. You can see all the site work with it. There is some timing, removing the cubbies out of the current 4th grade classroom. If we're moving 4th and 5th grade to a wing, that would come out of the Series 2 bond once we move kids down the bond. You got to remember, if we're looking at this as a November election vote, bonds are sold in February, March. We're not talking until the fall of 27, 28 that we're actually in the building. We're selling the bonds in 28, and the renovation of those classrooms to remove those cubbies would come out of that second series.
So the plan is still to move 4th and 5th to this back green area.
That is it.
So right now we have 10 classrooms for 4th and 5th combined, but down here there aren't 10 classrooms, right? It looks like there, I mean, unless you're counting the special education.
Those special ed could be moved here, and that becomes a classroom. For this, we could literally move that classroom just as a name,
Okay,
and I
so
could
we're
put
not-
it here,
Okay.
and as the capacity, this could be fourth grade, long-term. This could be fifth grade, this could be sixth grade, I mean, long-term. I wouldn't say that this is going to be forever, fourth and fifth grade, because at some point, the capacity is going to exceed. But for the sake of the treasury application, you typically have to identify a special ed or support to go within that grade level.
So related to that, so on the previous sketches, it did have the additional rooms on those, that wing there and the one below it. But if I'm understanding what you said correctly, those were taken off because of other, and you didn't say the word priorities, but I guess other considerations, construction considerations.
For the middle school, the primary reason is we would be under 70% capacity, and treasurer would say you have too many vacant, you don't need that large of an addition. So by taking them off here, and when we get to the elementary and the high school, you're going to see other projects coming in there.
Okay, but like you said, then it's still, if we have the funding, then later on down the road, we may be able to.
We have a cost, and the ballot language is written that it's addition, it's renovations, and again, the way the attorney reads it, or puts it on the ballot, to be very clear on all the stuff we wanted to do that you have the ability to do should fund. Much like we did on the last bond, which there were things that weren't in that bond that fell within the scope of the description on the ballot.
Okay, thank you.
A lot of this is exactly the same that you've seen. The numbers that we've tied up or tightened up were more of the technology infrastructure, which you're going to see down here. We met with IT and literally went through every scope. That if we need the classroom, what does it take to put the audio enhancement, the technology, the Wi-Fi? This replaces the phone systems that are 20 plus years old. And what furnishings we need to operate those classrooms. So when you look at the total, generally the architect fees are usually around 7%, construction manager fees are around 3 to 4%. You'll see permit costs, deal with the state inspections, any testing. Here is your contingency, which generally it's a 5 to 10% depending on construction or escalation. That 10% is assuming what bonds approved now, and in 2 years when we actually start putting it, if prices are up, that's taken into account, this dollar. Oftentimes, this is where in the past, I can only speak to the past bond, this is the money that came in under budget. The project came in under budget where the escalation wasn't as high as we projected. But the total middle school budget, you can see again, the escalation contingency, the testing, any permits for anything that falls in that third, or that series 2.
Brian, are we still considering taking the stage out for the lunchroom? Was that?
This still has the stage to enlarge the lunchroom.
So how is that going to affect this new pilot program for theater? Or are they?
It would be in a classroom, like the high school is in a classroom for high school.
So when they do performances and that, they're going to walk over to high school every time then? Or?
Performances, when they walk over to the high school, they have a stage to practice on.
If that's what their performance is, doesn't, well, theater program may not necessarily be in
They have a
production.
performance.
Mrs. Ford did theater a couple of years ago, and they did, the kids did skits. It wasn't a production that we think of at the high school. But if it was a production, they would utilize the high school. The next two, I'm going to go in the order of kind of the severity. So middle school would be our first priority because that's we are out of room. The next two would be working at the same time. So I'm going to start with the elementary. elementary should look very familiar. It's the 4-classroom addition. There's a large, so you can kind of see here, there's some type of office space. It might be, again, the office might be over here, the doors over here on the final drawings. So the basic classroom at the kitchen is the same that we talked about in terms of a kitchen addition. And then some type of storage where it could be a walk-in refrigerator, depending on the final layout is from the drawing. And then all the restrooms are in this one. In the elementary scope, this is, let me just do this real quick. Give me a second here. I just want to point this out. For your middle school, we're adding almost 39,000 square feet. This does not have in the middle school the supports for a second edition. Okay, so trying to get the numbers and so forth. In the elementary, you can see most of these items are in Series 2. You'll see the parking lot expansion, which is a 35,000 square foot parking lot, which is 60 parking spaces. That's the number. Drawing a blank off the top of my head, it might be right there somewhere. The underground retention system, that's on the other side of the road by the varsity baseball where those youth soccer nets are. You'll see the addition, the classroom. There's some site work again. These are, nothing here is different. We've tweaked some of the numbers to make sure that we've actually costed out. Some of the stuff that was on here were door replacements, but we started already replacing some of those doors. We made sure it wasn't in here, those exterior doors. We looked at the playground equipment. Generally, your playground equipment, you're talking about $750,000 of playground equipment. And drainage improvement is another $160,000. Underlayment, that playground equipment, you can't think of that number as just the equipment, it's all the infrastructure. It's whatever's going underneath it, the drainage system, et cetera. Fencing, et cetera. In the elementary school, this is the technology numbers that we finalized. Again, if you recall before, it was always in yellow. We're still trying to get quotes and cost on that one. Furniture-wise, et cetera. There's less furniture in the elementary. They're typically in the classroom. We have some of the furniture already. We bought for the furniture in the 6th kindergarten classroom with the anticipation that we don't need that. That's the elementary. And restroom square footage. At the elementary school, I didn't say this, I apologize. The addition is on the top of the page, about 8,300, almost 8,300 square feet we're adding to the elementary school. High school. High school, we had a similar issue with the percentage of occupancy. In the high school, the last two on the addition were removed to get us over a 70% occupancy of the building. So in this case, you see, again, I don't want to say this is what it's going to look like because it could be office here, restroom here. Their plan is to make one of these a restroom area in some fashion, but just here's where you get that capacity center. This has the same, you're going to see it's the bathrooms, it's the little office, it's that locker room off the old mini gym, which has never been renovated in the past 2 bonds. It has the expanding the cafeteria, which is, this is currently an old locker room, the old boys' locker, or the original boys' locker maybe. And then there's a storage room here, we're expanding that. When you look at the high school, it's almost 14,000 square foot addition of the high school. Which is primarily that new addition. You'll see the site work, you'll see the parking lot expansion behind the auditorium. You'll see the underground retention systems, etc. The office making it a clinic, restroom. Middle school steam room has plumbing in it. Elementary has plumbing in it because it wasn't part of the other one, but to see on those numbers, when you look at this, you might have why is plumbing more expensive at the middle school than elementary school. There's a longer run to get to the drain and stuff, more work that's got to be done. Elementary backs up to an art room, it's an easier install. High school has 1,224 bleacher replacements in the main gym. You can recall some of these had gym resurfacing and all that, that was taken off and moved to future or maintenance issues. This is really things of, it needs to be replaced or it's a space that we need. You see again, when you talk contingency, now we're going almost 4 years out before this starts construction. So you'll see the escalation is at a 15%, where the middle school is at 10%, accounting for future costs. And then you'll see the technology, audio enhancements, furnishings, etc. Basically, it's about $10,000 a classroom to install the technology needed in that classroom. So if you're adding 8 classrooms, or there's 80,000. But obviously that's all before bidding and stuff like that. This document here is the deferred. There's about 18 million that is for if money is available. You can see by each building what was in Series 1, what was in Series 2, and what was deferred. Like for instance, this is at Lee. If we wanted to add a storage room, because again, storage is an issue, it's about $350,000 for, when you look at 1,000 square feet, all the fire escapes, all the stuff has to go into storage. There's some relocating the office door, that was a wish list, but moving around, it's on the 3rd round, it's there. Expanding the generator backup, to have more capacity instead of just critical needs that we have operation of the generator, that would be another 75. So again, when you go, basically the calculation, all these automatically calculate the percentage of escalation. When you go to the middle school, these are those multi-purpose rooms, those 2 at the end of the building. So if we wanted to put those on, which is about 6,400 square feet, it would be about 2.2 million. This really has to be a decision now, because you can't, once you build it, you can't make that decision now. Not adding up. This would be as if you wanted to do the drive on the west side to come along the back, and lighting along that side, about $1.3 million. The underground retention that you'd have to put in for the sewage and all that, about $125,000. Really that's 2.2 million plus the 75 recycling. Replacing the gym floor is not in this one. It is if towards the end of the bond. Again, this would be something as we get towards the end of the bond. We're talking again 5-6 years out. We might be at a point when the dollars are there, that you have the ability to do it at that point. This is tile in the locker room, and the current boys and girls locker is floor tile. It's shifted. Doesn't mean that we can't bid it with the middle school. And as things come in, we say, okay, we're under budget on the middle school, X dollars, we want to add it at that time we're doing it, we can do all that. It's getting colder here.
I was gonna ask you for the.
Turn it off. So that's the middle school. When you get to high school, this will be adding a storage room on the high school, or excuse me, that's those space, storage room, which is about 1,000 square feet.
So if I could back up a little bit, a couple pages up, the planning for building up, I think there was,
500, roughly 500.
so that's a deferred, so that's currently not the.
That would be
current plan
something that if we're gonna do, and we wanna build, because you'd only be able to build on the addition, we'd have to put in Series 1 and find 500,000 to take out of Series 1 and shift it over.
But I guess my thoughts would be, from the different projections for the population growth that you showed us numerous times, where we're anticipating that, and then the lack of actual property or space that we have available. I guess I'm wondering why that would be in more the deferred category now.
It's just trying to get to a bottom. From my set, I would not recommend you do it if you can only build on really that part of the building. You can't put an addition on, this is what you'd have, basically 2, 4, 6, 8, I'm gonna say 10. Assuming this then gets cut, becomes an elevator shaft, which would mean you lose this classroom in the future. You have access to an elevator shaft. To me, if it's 500,000, I'd look at, you still have 4 classrooms that you could add on here. You still have the capacity of going, you really be getting very quite large as a building.
Right.
You have the capacity to go towards the back, because that's property that's not being used. And at that point, you would probably more consider looking at some type of drive or access parking lot in the south, or the south side of the campus.
So then you have it in the deferred column, because we would only be able to build up on that one section, and it would only give us like 8 classrooms.
I'm just doing quick math here.
Yeah, just round about it.
4, 5, 6,
That's
probably
wise.
get for maybe 12 classrooms, depending on how the design is.
Okay.
Again, my hesitation on the number is, this may not be where music is. Music might be over here, and the storage unit might be in the front, tied into an entrance to maximize the building layout and minimize materials.
And that's still not even building those classrooms, that's just building the infrastructure to be able to do that.
Because the roof on all of these would have, that's the infrastructure, yes. That is just
Right.
that is the infrastructure.
Are we putting any parking lot back there anyway, or no, not?
The middle school parking lot is
Yeah.
back here. You're the parking lot that's currently here.
Right.
You're basically making 2 more rows of that parking lot.
Oh,
So it's expanding that back parking lot, which would be from access to, if you're using this facility after hours, or teachers parking here because they teach over here, softball dining parking, so I guess again, if the board wants me to put it in there, I will direct them, and we're just getting to that $11, trying to get this really, and I know it wasn't very exciting when I started, but this is how we need space to put kids
Didn't we
in.
say last time that that wasn't something we were interested in?
We had a lot of
Was that the
conversations between
conversation?
that and some of the other stuff. you're gonna see on the deferred, there's some of the, like the bleachers at the high school, that's on the deferred, that's not in this initial bond here. This is, this is the part that worries me as the superintendent is, they are, Jerry from AUK and Francis said this is a good number, conservative number to use for future. But I'm always worried, what's the supply, in steel gonna be in 4 years from now? I know those that came in 6 months after our last bond had waited a whole year for steel before they got it. So this, that's why this part here is not what gets sent to Treasury. Treasury says you have 52 million, how are you allocating 52 million? In Series 1 and Series 2. The deferred allows us, these are all things that we've talked about or we're mentioning in community meetings or we're here. To go to your point, Mr. Starr, that 500 is one that we're going to have to decide now because that would have to be put in Series 1 and we'd have to reduce 500,000 from that end.
I'm okay deferring it, that's my thought.
I am too, but again,
I'm okay
we already
deferring it.
discussed it.
Yeah, I think we should.
I guess the important thing is really, it's not really deferred. I probably should say that.
It's not
Because
deferred,
once you
it's
start,
taken off.
it's
Yeah,
done.
because that'll be cut. That's why,
Yeah.
yeah, because that's something that we had later.
And again, this is not what gets sent to Treasury, only this stuff. This is for the board and all the other items that we talked as a community forum that people have on the list. So I guess at this point, which I think I got all of it. Got the construction, the elementary drawing, got the bond scope. Yeah, we're ready to, if you guys are good with this, we're ready to go to Treasury and we have to submit it to Treasury by Thursday. So basically what AUK and French has done is they've done their part. They'll now be, once I give them a call tomorrow that this is the go, they'll send it to Troon. Troon will officially do all the legal documents and the language, because Troon actually set up the bond hearings for us for Monday. Like I said, if any board member wants to come to the hearing, just let me know. It is a telephone call. You're really welcome to be in conference. Question? Is there anything uneasy with anybody? Are we still?
I'm good. I'm good. Okay.
Miranda, yes, I am.
It's like, okay, go.
We've been doing this for
Give
a
them a
little
call.
over a year, so we're good. That's it.
Give them the call. Okay, thank you, Mr. Wormsley. I know that that's been a lot of work getting all that together. We appreciate it. Okay, next item on our agenda is our MISD fiscal 2026 budget. Candace?
So I wish I could report a bunch of good stuff, but it was an uneventful meeting. They really didn't have a lot to offer at that time because we were still waiting for Nancy to make a lot of decisions. The main thing that we were discussing a lot on was the major drop in the ED, the economically disadvantaged student counts for the at-risk. They really talked a lot about that and just the importance of having everyone fill out forms and that was one of the biggest things. They showed us a video about the construction with the new state-of-the-art facility. Kind of looks like they're still a long way away from that being completed. Outside of that, I wish I could offer more information. I even went through last year's book and this year's book and really analyzed each one of the funds, and there's not a whole lot of changes with that. So they're not really looking for anything new. If that makes sense.
They have not they're not cutting any further, they've not said they are eliminating anything, so basically it's business as usual that we've experienced in the past.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, so I was there with Candace, and they said that they're in a really good spot this year. So, yeah, and to your point, that they didn't have any intention of cutting into that. One thing that was brought up was about Starbase. And I know that's kind of a hot topic with some of our, school members and throughout the county. And right now, it was taken to Senator Slotkin, and then I believe, Candace, I don't remember, it was another senator that it was taken to them, and they're taking it up the hill, so to speak. So there's enough, they found a way to finish out the school year, and then they're just going to continue the fight and kind of figure out where we can get the funding for that in the future.
Yeah, there really wasn't, it was kind of uneventful compared to last year. It felt like there was a lot last year, but.
Okay, any questions or any comments?
So the board's in agreement, or I shouldn't be in agreement, I'll prepare the resolution that you will be approving the IFD's budget with no recommendations for the next meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, next item on our agenda is our fiscal year 2026 budget discussion. Mr. Mosley?
Okay, since the last board meeting, we have one more piece of the pie. The Senate released their budget. So Tammy put this together for us, kind of give you a snapshot. The Senate proposal is a $400 increase. So for Richmond, it would yield about $621,000 in new revenue. In their proposal, they increased funding for Section 51C special education. They eliminate this language. A lot of this is very, I'm being very 30,000 footish because there's so many weeds in all of these and unknowns that we don't know. Section 31A, which we talked about last time on the dollars and trying it, their proposal shows a 25% increase. So for us, we did the quick math today with the administrators. It's about a $50,000 increase in our 31A.
So that helps us.
It would help us.
What account was the one where we were talking about?
That's between 31A, 31AA, and Title I.
That's right.
The current parapros are in 31A.
Okay.
31AA has some of the building security monitors, et cetera.
Okay.
They have no change in the 31A. They have a 25% increase in bilingual. You don't get a large portion of that. They no change in early literacy grants. Again, some of these. This literacy funding would be actually decreased, where the other two have no change. This is a possible, which would be good for the district, growing from $35 to $284 per CETE student, which is your 61D money. We have a lot of students in our CTE program, so that would help. There's a repeal of some professional development and curriculum supports, and then there's no change in the transportation 22I, all three of them. So we kind of got a side-by-side of the budgets. In your packet, I did put the actual side-by-side document that's released by the Senate Fiscal Agency. So you can actually see all the numbers and description on what the Senate, House, and Executive branch were offering, and pluses and minuses. There's a lot there. 227 pages of budget. You'll also see a simpler version of the budget in kind of the big picture of the dollars. The Senate budget talks about 50% of the increase, I'll go back here, has to be allocated towards basically pay increases.
If you go to the bottom and talk.
There it is. 50% of the foundation has to be increases to educator compensation. well, if we settle a contract with steps or anything, we're going to increase compensation, but I kind of find that, I don't know why they put that in there other than,
That's rich. I know, it's like they're telling us what we have, how we can spend their money.
so in the document you have, the other document, which is probably something you've seen before, you have the flat enrollment. Here's the revenue, there's the per pupil, here's the percentage in each one increases by. This number I need to update to show what we amended in Amendment 1 and then what our final budget is going to be. As of right now, that's at 245 we approved in June. These are our current expenses, so right now if we do nothing with revenue, we do nothing with expenses, and only account for this new revenue. Again, these are our known costs, contract-wise. We have some assumptions there with teachers, secretaries, and paras whose contracts are under negotiations. And gives us what our bottom line would be as fine. Last, May 1st, I had the opportunity to go with the other 21 superintendents up to Lansing to spend the day with our legislators. The message we got loud and clear is there is no intention on solving this before June 30th.
Of course not.
And if you look at what's been approved, if you recall, on the House budget, their budget was a government shutdown budget. It was not a true school aid budget. The conversation with many of our representatives from the House and Senate when they came and met with us was if we got asked once, we got asked 12 times our thought on cell phone policy. And nobody had an answer on a budget. There is no meat to or teeth to the law, on they have to have it approved by June 30th, which is what the law says. There's no teeth, so they technically have until October 1, September 30th, to approve the budget. We're already in 3 months into the school year, July, August, and September. So my recommendation to the board is, I mean, I don't know how much more we want to talk about this unless we have a different number coming out, is we approve basically this. Looking at contract costs, keeping everything, keeping everything the same, and we come back in August when we hopefully will have some more numbers, or maybe September. I don't know what to tell you.
This is absurd. It gets worse and worse every year.
This is the worst ever.
This is the worst it's ever been.
I would agree with you from the perspective, in the past, we've always had budgets, and we could say, let's take the average of them.
Yes.
Right.
Even in bad years,
Right.
they're not,
I mean, it's ridiculous.
there's a lot of conversation on getting a roads bill, fixing it, whether it's the funding, the way roads are funded. I think it's Sector 51, or I can't remember the roads bill. But basically it says if you've got a mile of highway that's 2 lanes, you've got a mile of highway that's 4 lanes, you get the same allocation. Which is why when you go north, all those 2-lane roads are typically better condition than down here. They're trying, but obviously those representatives don't want to change the formula because they would get less money and more money would come to the Tri-County area. But there was talk that they will sell out the school aid to get a road back.
Oh my gosh.
And if you look at their budgets, all the stuff in it, all the stuff in that back pages that was allocated, that's all gone in these budgets. That's $700 million or plus they want to move to a road. So
what can we do, right?
call, write. This Friday is the consensus estimating revenue conference, which I'll be interested how that's going to be, because they'll take into consideration current economics, tariffs that have been in place, unemployment. Michigan is, I don't know if it's the highest or the second highest unemployment in the nation because of downsizing and the reaction. So that will affect budget projections. So I don't see us doing any better than this, unless they come in and say there's literally no money left. But that's why I'm thinking if we approve a budget or begin preparing a budget, get this closer to what it actually is, our final revenue expenses. We know these are our costs. We budget on flat, and we take the middle of the three. In this case, the Senate, 400, and we base it on that income. I mean,
I don't know.
I wish I had a better thing to tell you, but there's nothing else that we can talk about. And we can have further conversation if you want to. I just don't want, I hesitate talking about any reduction because you send angst and anxiety in people's minds that I don't know necessarily if we need at this moment.
Because we don't know. So what's the point of doing that? Yeah.
But we do have now all three budgets.
I don't know if you can call them budgets.
Questions or? So I guess at the next meeting, unless there's something different, we can prepare a budget program. The only thing, like I said, different would be the revenue estimating conference, or if it comes in, it's significantly lower, they may lower their per pupils that they're putting out there right now. But it was said, like I said, it was said once, it was said a dozen times, the priority was on the cell phone, and they will sell the school aid out to get a road, a permanent fix to the road problem.
Anyone have any other questions or anything?
Did I miss anything, Tammy, on your own business?
There's just not a lot. Let me know. I don't know if you can do it from here. While he's doing that, we're going to move on to our vision, our district vision statement. I'm not sure that we all felt comfortable with what we did or what we're going to adopt, so I just want to touch base one more time. It was all sent out to you. When we looked at it last, the first one that we saw was what we kind of, I had some majority here on it. Let's restate it. It says to foster a culture of academic excellence, creativity, and character, ensuring that all students are prepared for success in a never-changing world. Are there any thoughts, additions, deletions before we would put it on our next meeting for approval?
I'm just confused. I thought we already talked about this.
I know we did, and I just didn't know if that's for sure where we were at. I did not have a definitive that night. I only heard from 2 or 3 people.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to get a better handle. If there's any other thoughts to that, if not, that's the one we're going to put up.
That was my thought, that was the one
That's the
that
one we're going to do.
we agreed upon. That's the way I interpreted that.
That's how I thought.
Okay. Okay.
Can I just,
Sure,
I just
absolutely.
throw a wrench for a second?
Oh, please.
Just because I have been thinking about it. This whole thing came about a vision statement from going to the conference.
Correct.
Somebody had a vision statement. In the real world of doing it, shouldn't a vision statement be a collaborative district where staff, students, parents have an idea? You know, we did it just, we all picked one, here we did it. How does that make our vision, let me finish.
I'm sorry.
make it buy-in from everybody. Just my thought, if no one else has a thought, I'm fine, but that's what I'm thinking.
A vision statement comes from the board for the whole district. It's the mission statement that we put out after, this is our vision as a board. And then if we were to change the mission statement, they would base it upon our vision for the district. So we do not need to, at least this is what I gathered from our workshop when we went out to Lansing. The vision comes from the board, it's where we want our district to go, and then if we want to change the mission statement, then you put it out to all of your stakeholders to revise the mission statement.
So that, do you feel that how we did this was a true working together to come up with a vision statement? I had that in my head as well.
Yes.
Who was missing that day? Danielle was missing.
I was at the last meeting.
Were you here when we talked about the vision statement?
Yeah, mine's in here.
We did it in the workshop, right? No.
Initially,
remember,
But I sent mine to Deb.
Yes.
Mine's in
Oh,
mine.
okay, so you had a say.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes, everyone had a say.
I think the only other thing you could do would be have a workshop, which I know like a specific workshop, but I feel like it's gonna come to the same end result, which is what we had. We all got to add feedback, and then we all got to review them, and yes, we didn't do it in a true workshop format, but I think the end result would still be the same, so I'm good moving forward with what we decided.
Any other comments? Okay, Mr. Walmsley, we will add that to our approval for the next board meeting, and if you need word, it's the first one. Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay, next item on our agenda is our Blue Double Raves. Here we go. Danielle, anything?
I'm good.
Raymond?
Oh, yeah, I got a bunch of stuff. So, Mr. Walmsley and I were able to attend the early college program and hand out diplomas. That was my first time doing that. That was awesome. We had 10 students from Richmond. So I think that was really awesome that we had a great showing there. Just raised to the top 10 class of 2025 and all their accomplishments and, you know, and just how many people that were over a 4.0 is just amazing. And I think that's awesome. And kind of along with that, I noticed that a lot of those students had their teachers that were their people that they brought up here. And some of them, they haven't even been in their class for a couple of years. So that altogether is telling me just the quality of the teachers that we have on staff here and what a great job that they are doing and the impact that they are having on our students. I just think that is super commendable and that is awesome. So yeah, so this kudos to the teachers and the staff that were part of that and the students and their accomplishments.
Seth?
Yes, ma'am.
Margaret?
I have a few here. First, I just want to rave and thank Sandy and Sarah and Candace for the work they did for our staff appreciation party the other night. Thank you for doing that for the board. It was a great turnout. Everybody had a lot of fun, so thank you for that effort. I wish Joe was here. I'll do it again when he's here, but that play was unbelievable and truly one of the best high school play performances we've had in a really long time. It just was very, very fun and some really outstanding talent performing that night. Couple things Brian had said to us to rave about. Our varsity baseball team was acknowledged by an umpire a game last week of the conduct, if you will, or culture of our team and its coach. So much so that the umpire was impressed enough to put it in writing and file a report on it. So kudos to our varsity baseball program. And then one of our own, Amanda Upchurch, is been accepted into the Grow Your Own program through Wayne State. She is working towards her teaching degree, so that's very exciting and good for her, and good luck to her.
Can I just add that that program pays for college, it pays for mileage, it pays for books, it pays for everything for this court, for her to get her degree in basically 3 years.
It's huge.
But the only commitment is she agreed to work for us at least 5 years after that. So it's 100% paid for. He pays for childcare, they need childcare.
Oh, wow.
It's huge.
All set, Margaret?
Yep.
Okay, Sarah?
Just wanted to comment on the staff appreciation event. It was my first year obviously doing it, but it was really great to see all the staff that could come out. I think we did have a good turnout. I have nothing to compare it to, but I think the turnout was good. I liked seeing everybody have fun and just kind of let loose because they deserve it. And hopefully every year we'll just keep getting more and more staff that can come. I know it's hard with schedules in the spring and people have a lot of stuff going on, but it was really a fun event. So I'm just glad we got to appreciate the staff that we have.
Candace?
Yep, I'd like to just echo what Sarah said, exactly all that. It's nice to see the camaraderie amongst the staff, and just, it was a great sight Saturday. I just wanted to thank Mrs. Shack for the middle school band and the high school band. They both had their band concerts this past week, and amazing job. I don't know how she pulls off what she pulls off with as many age bracket children that she does. It's awesome. And the Legally Blonde, I have to admit, it was my very first type performance like that I've ever been to, and I can't even, it was like I was at an adult. They were so great. I didn't even notice any bloopers or, and the way they were staring up and just everything. I'm not sure who's coaching them, but they did an amazing job, and I think I might be hooked. To be honest. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Sandy?
Yeah, I also went and saw Legally Blonde. It was absolutely amazing. It's the best show I've seen here in a while, and I've seen them all for a long time. But they all did an amazing job. The costumes were great, the students were great, everything was great. Great job. It was completely full when I was there on Saturday. I heard it was full on Friday as well, so that's awesome. They deserved it. Good for them. But I also wanted to say during that time there was some artwork out, and every year during the play there's artwork out there, and I am blown away even more every single year. They get better and better. I picked out a few of my favorites, but I forgot their names at home actually, so I'm sorry about that. But I will tell you, one was a blue and gold macaw. That one, I have one of those birds, so I thought that was very cool, very interesting. And I also thought it was very interesting, they were like self-portraits of, or I don't know if they were self-portraits, I guess, but they were portraits of like little tiny pieces of, like, I don't know, magazines or something. Like, it was very cool. A lot of awesome stuff there, so kudos to those kids. And then also our esports team that won a state championship over the weekend. Congratulations to them. And I thought I had one more. Oh, of course, the top 10. Congratulations to them. Amazing work. It is absolutely should be stated again. How how 18 of them were over a 4.0 average. That's absolutely amazing. And then also just a shout out to Ms. Sabo and Ms. Borwick, or whoever else helped put together the event tonight. It was an awesome event. Very cool dinner. I have attended, I think this is the 3rd year they've done it, and it's amazing, so great job. That's it.
Okay, you've taken all of mine.
I'm sorry.
No, that's great, it wasn't just you, it was everybody. So I'm just gonna really quick do mine. Mrs. Shack, again, I agree with Candace, I went to the middle school band concert, was phenomenal. They, again, at that age level, I was really amazed. I was expecting more squeaking and few other things, and it didn't, but they were really good. Also, I too visited the artwork. I am always amazed at what comes out of our art department. I have been since I've been here, and it continues, so it's really nice to see. Scott Evans, our baseball coach, I want to just say congratulations to him, or thank you for how he does handle it, how he does coach our kids, because you know what, that puts them out there in the public, and that looks really good for our district. So I just want to thank you for that. And I just want to wish Amanda Upchurch good luck in her classes as she continues on and gets her teaching certificate. We look forward to having her on staff as a teacher. And that was mine. I had a few more, but that's fine. Okay, next item on our agenda is our student report, and we have Elizabeth here tonight.
I'm going to start at the high school, so obviously this is the seniors last week. So senior awards night is Thursday at 7 p.m. I'm going to in the auditorium. Prom is Friday at 6 o'clock, and then I believe it's called a lockout, so students have to stay from 7 to 9, I think it's called. And then we're wrapping up NWEA testing, and then there's lots of fun stuff with graduates. So I think there's senior breakfast Wednesday, and then the clap out Wednesday after Thursday. The middle school has their NJHS induction ceremony Wednesday at 5 o'clock. There will be middle school field trips. 4th and 5th grade will be going in the AM, and then 6th, 7th, and 8th grade will be going in the PM. And then there's a 4th grade transition night Thursday at 5 o'clock. The Lee School is excited to have their color run on Friday. Last year, the money was raised for the book vending machine. They're very excited to see what else they can fundraise for. Lee is bringing back a huge end of the year prize raffle assembly. They have saved every blue ticket that was earned by a student. Over 1,000 tickets will be in the raffle. And there will be a drawing of toys, baskets, and a grand prize of a family pack of Tigers tickets. This is to go along with the PBIS Positive Behavior Support System. Preschool is heading to the Discovery, Legoland, and Sea Life Aquarium on Wednesday for their spring field trip. They'll do hands-on fun activities and explore fascinating sea creatures up close. They're going to have a lot of fun, for sure. Athletics, girls soccer hosted Alabama today and came away with a win. Baseball and softball are both nearing the end of their BWAC seasons, and both are positioned to potentially win their respective championships. And then, of course, esports were in the States this weekend. Girls tennis competed in the BWAC championship last week on Wednesday, and they'll travel to Flint, Kerslake, and Ohio high schools to compete in the MHSSA regionals. Boys golf will compete in the BWAC championship next week at Holly Meadows. Varsity track is a big week this week, as Saturday is their MHSSA regional at North Branch. The RMS track team hosted a meet against Armada in Yale last Thursday. They competed really well against two schools with very large teams. A huge thank you to all of the parent volunteers and RHS athletes that helped that meet run so smoothly. A huge thank you. Lastly, the high school theater program is a total phenomenon. I went Saturday night, and one of my friends, she was like, oh my God, I messed up so bad. I was like, I didn't even notice. You guys played it off. It was just very good. Yeah, I was like, don't even worry about it. But yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is superintendent and legislative update. Mr. Walmsley.
I'm going to start at the federal level. If you recall, there was a couple of weeks ago that schools were required to submit a DEI certification letter that we would not be doing any DEI. There was a U.S. District Court that filed an injunction. Recently, the OCR came out and said they will no longer pursue that certification requirement, so we don't need to do that. May 6th, a U.S. Department of Education, a judge ruled that they must honor the allocations that have been given. The current Department of Education cut and told states that even though you had until this point to spend some of the pandemic relief money, which a lot of it is for learning loss, so summer programs and so forth. U.S. Department of Education said, nope, you got to be done by, I think it's September of this year. The federal judge issued an injunction saying you can't do that. They've already committed to the states, they have those funds. Approximately $190 billion were allocated to schools in 3 COVID packages, with the largest being the American Rescue and Recovery. For Richmond, this doesn't pertain to us. We spent our funds and we've used them, but for many districts, I'd be interested if they were counting on some of these funds for programming. So, want a task to do tonight, please call your legislators at the federal level. Medicare cuts for the schools and the creation of a federal voucher system is going to move money from public schools into parochial or charter schools from a voucher system. The Medicare cuts will affect us at some point in our special ed funding. Those are huge cuts for education in the long term. So I encourage you to vote no on those, or encourage our legislators to vote no. From the state, we went over the Senate budget today. This really is normally when we have all three budgets, it kicks off the budget season. We're kind of late into the game, if you will, in terms of getting budgets. However, we do now have the budget. We kind of went over some highlights in the Senate, which is a $400 per pupil increase. There's an increase in at-risk, increase in special ed, English language learner, CT, which is good. In general, ISD operating villages, et cetera. So just watch and advocate for the school aid fund. District updates, May 30th is the Congressional Art Award. I sent out an email, I don't know if every board member saw it today. We've asked for kind of a clarifying. We have several of our students' art is on display at St. Clair Community College, SC4. There's a program. I am told one of our students has won. I don't know what they won. I don't know the student's name, but the art teacher did Jeremy. So if you are going, if you could let me know by tomorrow, because she needs to let everybody know by Wednesday, because they had so many people that they don't know if they have the capacity, so they might be limited. So if you're interested, just let me know by tomorrow. Shoot me an email and so forth so I can get it to Mrs. Maureen Shannon. Next Monday is our treasury bond application. It's at 9 a.m. If you'd like to be part of it, I said just let me know. You'll be come to the board office, be in the conference room. We'll have a special meeting on May 20th at 6:30 is the special meeting to officially approve the treasury bond application. What's submitted, if they have any changes they require us to make from Monday, will be corrected before the meeting on Tuesday. Just to recap, we have to have 30 days between when the board approves the bond app and when you approve the board language, ballot, excuse me. This coming Thursday, as it's talked about, is the convocation award ceremony for the class of 2025 at 7 p.m. in the high school auditorium. If you know you're coming, if you just let Cindy know, if you've already let her know, that's good. Just so we can let Andrew know so they can plan seating, because they don't want to reserve more seats than needed, because we typically have a large group that shows up. May 16th, as was shared, was prom, in which all the students and staff are attending a safe and memorable time, make smart choices. Graduation is May 21st. Board members, if you could be there by 6:30 so that we would get everything in position. It just helps in the flow and the stress of that night. There's a lot of moving parts going on and getting people on stage. We're going to start promptly at 7. In the action item tonight, I don't know if you saw it in the backup, but if you have diplomas that you'd like to hand to specific people, make sure you email them to me. I will get them to Andrew to put notes on it, so when we're going through the process, we make sure it's not chaotic on stage, so we know who wants to hand out diplomas. At our next regular meeting, we will have Memorial Day. So the Friday the 23rd and Monday the 26th is the Memorial Day holiday. There's no school. Our next board meeting is official regular meeting is Tuesday the 27th. Just make a note if you don't have that in your calendar. This is also the season of awards. Starting on the 18th, these will start showing up on the marquee, but on the 30th, we got the 9th, 10th, and 11th grade awards. On June 2nd, which is the last week of school, we got kindergarten, 4th, and 5th grade awards. On June 3rd, Tuesday, we have 3-year-old, 4-year-old, AM and PM ECSE program. All of the awards are at the auditorium with the exception of the ECSE. They will be in the classroom. June 4th, we have first, it's a half day of school, so we have 1st and 2nd grade awards. June 5th, 6th and 7th grade awards, and June 6th, we have 3rd and 8th grade awards. So again, they'll start showing up on marquees and on the social media, so look forward to that. If you can attend, you're more than welcome to attend any and all of them, and you want to work schedule during the day, it might be challenging. With that, that's all I have.
Thank you. Next item is items of interest from the board. Raymond, anything?
No, ma'am.
Sandy?
Yeah, just one thing, I'm not sure, I guess, if this is where I should bring it up or whatnot, but I am just wondering if and when we should have a conversation in regards to compensation for Mr. Walmsley and his job with doing all of the HR stuff for as long as he has. I know in the past, we've done that for people that have taken on extra roles and whatnot, and I'm not sure, we'll have to discuss it tonight, I guess, but I mean, if we can put it on, do something about that in the future.
Mr. Walmsley and I have already met about that, and we are going to put it on, we had a date.
We have a June 3rd as an evaluation
Yes.
update meeting of the goals. And if you want to have that conversation like we've done in the past, we've done it as far as the goals part of it.
Okay.
So that will be coming. Anything else, Sandy?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, Margaret?
Just if we can, next meeting, if we can invite the sports team that for the championship. That's all.
Thank you. Candace?
Sure. I'm just going to bring this up. I just want to ask Mr. Walmsley his opinion on this. So after being in the auditorium here a few times the past couple of weeks, it had become more and more apparent that at some point, and I'm not talking about current bond, we might want to consider expanding that auditorium, doing something. I don't know how that was up. I wasn't on here before, but I think you guys maybe did look into that at some point. I'm not saying now, I'm just, it was really overwhelming, especially when we had the middle school band at 6th, 7th, and 8th. It was busted. I mean, the kids didn't even know they were sick, and I don't know what that might look like in the future.
I will just say, following that meeting, we had a lot of conversations on what we could do. Like, for instance, we could do a live stream into another room, move the kids that are currently sitting in the auditorium into another room, free up seats for parents. Looking at, does it need to go over 2 nights, because the band program for this checks 6th grade is a very large program, which is good. She's built that program. She had a small group going into 8th grade to see what comes with the 6th grade. And I know just at a surface level, we talked about, I really haven't investigated what a true cost would be. I did do at one point adding on, and I think at one of our meetings, I can't remember which, whether it was a study session or boarding, where we talked about it would be very expensive to retrofit our to expand it. It would almost be cheaper to add or adding on the whole building. So that would be a future.
I mean, would that be like a bond thing? Would we ever be able to save that kind of money? How
I don't know if you could save it, but you could, you have the option at the board to, whether it's going out for a bond or issuing bonds that you're paying out of the general fund, where you get that $1 to be able to pay for that bond back. Something that magnitude, probably a voter approved bond. See the size. I think as a board, what you're doing now is positioning that to be the next need. When you think about it, if the buildings start building up in capacity, you're going to have more people attending events, and you're going to see the next need. That's a better sell than for me to go out, or us, I should say, not just me, but to say, we need a bigger auditorium now, when probably 50% of the time the auditorium sits on units. That's the concern that we have. If we can spread things out over multiple nights, we're seeing it, and we're seeing it still fill up, now you got better utilization of that facility. That would be my recommendation.
Danielle?
Um,
Sarah? And I have none. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. My microphone was just wonky.
Okay, so let me go back.
It's okay.
Candace, we heard Danielle.
No, I was just gonna say, I wanted to echo what Sandy had mentioned about talking about compensation for Mr. Walmsley. I had thought about that after seeing the last couple of emails from him as well, so that was something that was on my mind as well.
Like I said, him and I had already talked about it, probably about 3 weeks ago, maybe. Sarah? And I don't have anything. Okay, next item on our agenda is public comments. Since the last board meeting, the board has not received any email. There were no public comments that need addressing from the last board meeting. At this time, any member of the public may address the board. Please sign in and state your name. You'll have 3 minutes to address the board. Being no public comments, we will move on. Our next item is our item of action. I'm looking for a motion for the approval of class of 2025 graduates.
I move to approve the class of 2025 graduates who have successfully met the requirements for graduation as set forth by the Richmond TV Schools Board of Education and the state of Michigan as outlined in the attached documentation. The class of 2025 graduation ceremony for Richmond High School will be held at the Macomb Center for the Performing Arts at 7 o'clock in the evening on Wednesday, May 21st, 2025.
Support. Candace, I heard you first, sorry. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Being no further business, the board will adjourn at 9:49. Thank you, everyone.